That's what I refer to as level one. And it's just an organizational system, which is fine, but I think there is another level, which is what I refer to as the business owners, CEOs, founder journey. It's a totally different approach. You're learning, oh wow, I'm responsible for that too. You're really excited about making progress here, and then you can feel blindsided by what goes on over your shoulder back there. This one-page workplace has to factor in how work is going to happen, so to speak, on a swivel. The structure is there to ensure that the mission critical things are happening, so that way you have peace of mind, so you're not living out of all of these adrenaline dumps where you're just constantly in like fight or flight mode, stress pumping through your system just to power through. It's a different operating system. So first, I just want to give a shout out to the Craft team. Beautiful job. I've really enjoyed working with this digital app. I was a power user with Evernote for years and years. And then when they traded hands to a different company, I just kind of felt like it was the right time to launch and find something else. I looked into Notion and personally just didn't feel like it was the right fit for me. I just kind of had some open-ended questions that didn't get answered. Thankfully, a friend who's even more productive than me in some ways, he recommended Craft, and I said, yeah, I think he understood a lot more of the infrastructure of it all. So I was like, yeah, that's a reliable vote of confidence. Let's go with it. That's how I started with Craft, and it's just been a joy. Very easy to import stuff that I already made, very easy to build new things, very easy to export, which is a big plus as well. I want to actually explain a little bit of my philosophy around how I'm imagining Craft right now. How do I say it? There's two big ideas that I'm going to be working off of in Craft specifically. The first one is this idea of the calendar feature. And I mean, for months, I've used it as my main street in my organizational system. And that's basically what it was. It was just a system to organize thoughts and notes and links and just whatever I was coming across. And that's actually not a new idea. Like if you study note-taking or productivity going way, way back, like the Commonplace books, people just walked around with their own kind of leather-bound notes with parchment, and they just had this cool system of collecting ideas and thoughts in a kind of a scrapbook collage sort of way. And I think that was really special because every Commonplace book would be different at that point. Everyone's thinking in different ways, and so every common book was actually very rare. And I like that metaphor of like they were building their own analog knowledge base, and now just with the technology and the cultural context that we're in, we're doing it with like a digital format, but very similar, right? Just Main Street, as you go day by day, page by page, you're just documenting things that are interesting or things that are worthwhile to you in your work. And you know, it's there, it's an archive. So there's a lot of value in that. The majority of people who just do that are gonna feel lighter because all that clutter is out of their head and it's somewhere that they can trust, they can go back to and search. That's what I refer to as level one. And it's just an organizational system, which is fine, but I think there is another level, which is what I refer to as the operating system. So you make that jump from organizational system to operating system. And this is really exciting because this allows you to involve other people in that knowledge base / workspace. And you can also begin to operate whatever you're doing, your brand, your business, your community, and it's not going to break down later on. You're not going to have to rebuild this whole thing because you've done it intentionally. With that in mind, you now have to reimagine that calendar feature. And this is true of any tool, whether it's Craft or Notion or Evernote or Apple Notes or whatever. Like, you get the tool, but depending on you as the user, you get to use that tool differently. And that's exciting, but it's also a little bit of an onus on you. You have to sharpen the way you think. And skill building is still very important, even in this modern work culture that we're in. Let's get back on this idea of how do you build something in craft that could serve as an operating system for your work, your brand, your business, your community, your team, whatever. I'm thinking of the calendar feature less as the main street for my organizational system, and I'm now seeing it as like a preview of the way I want my brand to show up. You could do this for planning your day, making sure you have a winning streak. If you're a content creator, you can make sure that you're prepared for upcoming meetings or projects. And if I can stay a few days or a few weeks ahead, I've got this amazing thing here that's going to help me organize the content and the decisions that I need to really show up ready. And it just creates this structure that I can wrap my head around and say, that's done. And I know it's done because it's on the right day. It's like that day is prepared for. Basically, I'm thinking of the calendar feature as the public facing or the prepared staging area, for deployment. That before I deploy into the day, I want to make sure that that calendar box has been designed and filled with the right stuff. That's very, very, very different than the way I've been using it. And I might even, still add some notes like in real time of like, hey, this is what I had prepared, or this is what I had planned on doing, but I didn't go that way. That's totally fine, because it is going to become a bit of receipts for your work progress and your operating system. But generally speaking, I'm now looking at the calendar feature as less of a catch of like, oh, this is all the stuff I was doing today. And I'm thinking of it more as a prepare. Like it's a piece to help me show up prepared. And it's kind of my way of saying, are all my bases covered? It's gonna just look a little different now. So that's really important, because that's the whole be prepared side of my system. And if you have been following me a little bit, you know about the Pioneer Protocol. And my 2 core values, just my new scorecard for productivity, so to speak, is be prepared, be present. And so that's the be prepared side. Then I've got this other thing, which I'm just kind of referring to as a 1-page workplace. And that's not to say that I'm going to cram everything into cards and collections, although I could. The 1-page workplace is a habit that I'm going to be building when it comes to my workflow, that this is where I show up to work. If you're in any kind of, digital workflow, it's very difficult to say, where does work even happen? It's like, oh, well, it's everywhere. It's on your phone. It's here, it's there. It's like, I know, but where do I go when I'm like in work mode? And some people try to create a habit or a sequence and then kind of get into that context, and that's fine. This is part of that, I would say. And it's got to be lightweight enough where it's not intimidating, there's not a lot of friction, but I can just show up to that 1 page and know that it's actually going to lead me into real work, not fake work, not busy work. It's going to look like real work happening in the context of that 1 work page. Now, you're like, what's on that 1 work page? I got to know how to do great work and build an operating system for my stuff. And I'm speaking specifically to leaders, business owners, CEOs, founder journey people, right? It's a totally different approach to the work, because you're learning, oh wow, I'm responsible for that too. You're really excited about making progress here, and then you can feel blindsided by what goes on over your shoulder back there. And so I'm living in that world, and I'm helping others in that context as well. This one-page workplace has to factor in how work is going to happen, so to speak, on a swivel. Yes, you have a structure, but the structure is there to ensure that the mission critical things are happening, so that way you have peace of mind. So you're not living out of all of these adrenaline dumps where you're just constantly in like fight or flight mode, stress pumping through your system just to power through. It's a different operating system. It's learning how to lead with a regulated nervous system. It's learning how to lead, what I would say, with, peace, just peace of mind, and living out of the peace that God gives us. When that structure's in place, we're practicing and we're doing the reps that get the results. And then what happened is we just got a lot more margin in our day. And that margin now gets repurposed. That free time gets reallocated to do other stuff. And that other stuff is a strategic investment in things that are valuable to us, like key relationships or our health, or it could even be repurposed and kind of reinvested into what I would refer to as frontier stuff. What's on the edge of your industry? What's on the edge of your work? You're actually pioneering. You're creating something that wasn't operational yet. And so that's a really exciting day for a lot of the CEOs that I get to interact with, because it feels like they're being ambushed on all sides, and they call that a work day, and so they're kind of used to it. And what we get to do is change that narrative where you're not feeling ambushed on all sides or attacked on all sides, but now you feel like you have strategic margin, structured momentum, and you're able to start advancing on all sides. And that doesn't happen automatically. It happens intentionally when you have the awareness to say, I don't have to work that way. Like, I don't have to live that way. And you start to lead differently, show up ready, grow your capacity, take care of your community.